So today, yesterday we discussed about a few concepts from AWS like VPC, subnet, and internet gateway, as well as routing table configurations. So these are all belongs to a networking part. Like in order to have an extra security for your instances, so these concepts are going to be utilized. And before I start with today's topic, I just want to check whether you have any questions related to the yesterday's topic. So if you guys have any sort of questions, please let me know so that we'll discuss on that part first, and then we can go with the next topic. Okay. So if you guys have any sort of questions, please let me know. No questions, right? Shall I continue?
Uh, I have a question, Surya Garu.
Yeah.
When I was creating CIDR block, so I tried giving under class 17, like 10, 0, 20, 0. It didn't take. May I know the reason?
Okay, so you have given us class 20. Or let me,
Class 17.
oh, sorry, it's class 17. Okay, let me open this CIDR class CA table. Class 17, in the sense 255.255.128.0. So, okay, what happened actually?
I tried giving 10, 0, 20, 0. It didn't accept. So I had to give 10, 15, 0, 0. Why it didn't take? First one, 10, 0, 20, 0.
Okay, can you please share your screen? Let me check what kind of error you got.
No, it all fixed now. Then I randomly tried this one 10, 0, 20, 0 /17. So
Okay.
it didn't take. Then I canceled that. I again gave 10, 15, 0, 0. So it accepted.
I mean,
So it
it didn't
created.
take in the sense what kind of error you got. So did it show any kind of error? Generally, I don't think there is no error in giving any sort of IP you can give. Okay, so here if you see the first two things, first two blocks, as it is showing your subnet mask as 255.255, that means all the IP addresses will start with 10 and 0. So 10 and 0 are common, but whereas in the next field 128. So if you subtract if you subtract this particular value from 255, that will be around 127 something, I mean off of that. Okay, and then as to so if you give 20, in the sense it will start with 20 and it will reach to up to 128 digits. Okay, so from starting from 20 it will increase up to 128 digits. The same way the last part will should be 0. Mandatory, the last part should be 0.
Why it should be 0?
Because here we have 255 values that are required. Right?
So
So
total
if
256,
you
right?
give us 0, then only it will go and increase up to 255, right? If I give 20 or something, so there is no chance of increasing.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Fine then. We'll continue. Let me close this part. Okay. So today we'll be discussing about a topic called EC2. So first of all, let me explain what is meant by EC2. So the full form of EC2 in AWS point of view is Elastic Compute Cloud. Okay. So first let me explain what we are going to do it in EC2, and then after I'm going to explain you about the concept called key pairs, because in order to connect with your EC2 instance we require this. So in the background we have another concept called SSH, secured shell. So there we have internally we have two types of keys, and I'm going to explain about these keys practically and all. Okay, so fine. Now first let's talk about the EC2. So what we are doing here is we are taking an infrastructure. So EC2 is nothing but an infrastructure. So different types of infrastructure we can launch on AWS. Like infrastructure in the sense, in real time, you in order to run your applications, you may require some server, right? See, if I want to install something on my laptop, so first of all I should have a OS or memory and RAM, everything. Only then I can able to run my software on this particular laptop, right? The same way here in real time, instead of, I mean, in real time we don't install any applications on our laptop, right? So we install applications on different Linux machines or Windows machines, whatever, right? So there will be a separate set of servers, right? So those servers will also have RAM, memory, everything, and also included with OS. Okay, so those kind of infrastructure we are going to take it from AWS. Okay, this is one of the most important thing. Most of the AWS services, like if you observe in market, so everyone will be habituated using this EC2. Okay, so that's about a basic overview of EC2. So we are going to take the infrastructure from AWS, and in on top of it, we are going to install our applications and all. Okay, so that's the first basic overview of it. And then after, okay, I have launched my EC2 instance. Okay, fine. How I'm going to access it? Okay, so that's the next important question that I'm going to explain you. So EC2 is basically, I mean, if you go with a Linux machine or Windows machine, the main concept which is used behind in order to connect to a particular server is a SSH. Okay, so there is a concept called SSH, which we call it as secured shell. Okay, so it is going to utilize that particular option in order to connect with a particular server. Fine, I'll explain you how SSH is going to work. Okay, so first of all, let me open Paint. Okay, so SSH is basically having two types of. Just give me a minute. I'll drag this one. What happened? Okay, so basically SSH consists of two. Okay, first of all, let me do one thing. This is server A, or this is one of the EC2 server, and let's assume this is your laptop. Okay, we'll do one thing. Let's assume this is your laptop and this is your AWS instance. Okay, let me name this. So my local laptop. Okay, personal laptop. And this is AWS EC2 Linux machine. Okay, so now I have launched this AWS EC2 instance on AWS account. and I supposed to connect with this. Okay, first of all, I'll be explaining you concept called SSH. So SSH basically consists of two types of keys. One is public key, the other one is private key. So once you generate a SSH keys, these two keys will be generated. One key we call it as public key, the other key we call it as private key. Okay, once you create these keys, and if you open these keys, so the internal content of these keys were totally different. Okay, so if you compare public key and the private key, so the content which we have inside these keys are totally different. There is no match. Okay, but you know what, these keys are internally paired with each other. Okay, the content and the format, everything are different, even though, but still these two keys will be paired with each other. Okay, so what we have to do is, whatever the public key what we have here, so that public key we need to copy and paste it under AWS Linux machine. Okay, so there will be a folder called .ssh. Okay, so in that .ssh folder there will be another file called authorized underscore keys. So inside that file you need to copy the content of the public key. So we as the name itself indicates, public. Okay, so we need to copy this public key content and we need to paste it under Linux machine and a specified path. Okay, that's the first step. Okay, and then after, once you copy this particular code, what we will do, we will be taking private key as a reference. Like you're going to use your private key, and using that private key you're going to connect with the target server. Now your target server, I mean, first, whenever you're trying to connect with an SSH command, so first private key what you have in your local machine will try to identify a paired public key on the target server. So it will try to identify it. So if it found that, okay, there is a paired public key available on the target server, if you found it is true, okay, now the server A will automatically connect with the server B. I mean, your personal laptop will be connected with your AWS EC2 instance without any password. Okay, so here AWS is providing you a passwordless authentication. Okay, so in order to connect with any server, so you're going to use this kind of approach, but there is no password given to you. Okay, got it? So this is how SSH keys are going to work. But now I'll explain somewhat high level how these keys will be generated and how these keys are being utilized. Okay, so let me explain you about these keys and how AWS is going to follow this. So there is a concept called key pairs. Okay, so if you, that is one of the service what we have on AWS. So first of all, you can generate a set of key pair. Like once you create it, it will automatically download a file with an extension called .pem. Okay, so with an extension called .pem, like for example, if I want to create a key pair with the name Surya. Okay, so what I will do, I'll go into that key pair section and I'll click on create new key pair, and I'll be giving a name called Surya. So automatically a key pair will be generated, and immediately a new file will be downloaded. Okay, with a name called surya.pem. So this is one of the format of maintaining the public key and private key. So PEM is a format which we have both public key and private key inside this. Okay, so automatically a new PEM key will be downloaded. Fine. Now using this PEM key, as I told you before, PEM key is a combination of public and private key together. Okay, and while launching your EC2 instance, you're going to select the key pair which you want to utilize. That means surya.pem or any other key pair you can use. So once you feel that okay, this is what the key, and then you are going to select that key. What AWS is going to do is, so as I told you before, how SSH is going to work, like we have to copy the public key onto the target server on a specified path, right? So this copy part, everything will be taken care by AWS. So AWS is going to execute that task. Okay, whatever the public key related to this PEM, so that paired public key will be copied and it will be pasted under the target server. So once it is done, you can start connecting from your PEM key which you have downloaded. Okay, so this is how your AWS is going to work. Okay, so let me do that in a practical approach. Let me show you how to create a key pair first, and using that key pair I'm going to launch my EC2 instance. Okay, so first let's go with that part. So I have connected with my AWS account. So one thing I just want to check before we continue. So how many of you have done creating your AWS account? Do you guys face any issues? Let me know if you face any issues. We can try to resolve those issues first, then we can continue. Hope everyone has created, right? Fine then.
No, I have not created yet, but I will try to do it.
Okay. Okay.
Because I just started.
Okay, fine. Yeah, that's not an issue. So try to create your AWS account. If you want, you can take the previous sessions as a reference. Like I've explained you what are all the things that we have to take care before creating your account. So make sure that you have a credit card or debit card, which is a mandatory. And also it allows you only 3 types of cards like Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. So these are
Yes,
the three
I
cards.
have those video already. I have those videos already.
Yeah. So make sure your account will be activated by tomorrow, because sometimes it will take 24 hours to activate. So
Okay.
by tomorrow you can get ready. And okay, so once you are done with that part, so I'll just go with EC2. Okay, I'll just click on EC2. Okay, if you don't see EC2 option over there, or you can also type EC2 here. Okay, so anything you can use. And then so first let me create a key pair. So here you can directly click on key pairs, or if you don't see this option on the left side, if you scroll down, you can also see an option called key pairs here. Where it is? Yeah, here it is. So on the left side you can also see an option called key pairs. So let me click on this. So here, as I told you yesterday, this is all a new account for me as well. So here, as this thing is new for me, so there is no keys generated. So let me create a new key pair. What I'll do is I'll just give as new key pair, and I'll be giving a name called Surya. Okay, or Surya 1. Okay, and there are 2 types of formats that is giving you. So I always recommend you go with PEM, because PPK is only uh, used for putty. Okay, so there is a tool called putty which helps you to connect with the Linux machines. Okay, so if you are using putty, then you can go with .ppk, but here we are not using putty. If you have a PEM key also, there is an option to convert PEM into ppk, so that's the reason I always recommend you go with PEM, okay, rather than ppk. Okay, so I always recommend to go with PEM. So you need to select that, and then you just click on create key pair. So automatically, if you see here, there is a file got downloaded. So this is what the file, which is a combination of public and private key together. Okay. So okay, let me close this. And now your key pair was ready. Okay, the first part was ready. Now I'll go and create an instances. On the left side, you can see an option called instances, right? So you just click on it. So here, as you don't have any servers that are available, so I'm going to create a new server. So before that, I'll be explaining you about different types of servers that we have in AWS, especially. Before we start with this, so make sure that you are using a free tier. Okay, so because this is a practice session, so I don't want to take an higher server or a big configuration server, so that because there is no use, because we are not running actual applications, right? So we are only running a dummy applications. I mean, dummy in the sense small applications, but in real time, the application's size and everything will be big. But here, our application size will be at least at the minimum configuration will be sufficient for us. Okay. But here, and one more thing, once you create your AWS account, so AWS is going to offer you that you can run a instance for 750 hours for absolutely free. There is no charges for it. But there is one limitation here. You have to use only one particular type of server, that is T2 micro, that I'll show you in the coming next slide. Okay, so you have only option that if you use this T2 micro, then you can run your server for 750 hours absolutely free, not only for 1 month. So the same manner you can use it for 12 months, that means 1 year. Okay, so every year you can update it. Okay, automatically it will be updated every year. 750 hours will be given to you. Okay, so that's the first thing. So I always recommend you guys go with that approach, because we are not using a good configured servers or our application servers. So first let's go with the basic one. If you want, you can also increase it. So that kind of option is also available in AWS. So your wish. Initially, let's go with a small configured server, and later on we can go with a high configuration server. Okay. So first, let me show you how to launch a new instance. So I'll just click on the right top corner. You can see an option called launch instance, right? I'll just click on it. Immediately, it will redirect you to the page where you can select different options will be there. So here you can give the instance name that you want to create. It's an optional actually. If you don't give also, it's a fine. It is going to create without name, but later on you can give. So first let me do it. Let me give some name like um, my Linux. Okay, I'm giving a name called my Linux. And now you can see there are different types of OSs that are available. So Amazon has their own customized Linux machine, or if you want to go with Ubuntu, or if you want to go with Microsoft Windows, Red Hat, SUSC, even Mac OS is also available. So Debian, etc. Like if you want to go with another kind of servers also, you can here you can search. Okay, so here all these sorry, here if you see, all these are in a form of images. Okay, so Amazon Linux is one image, Ubuntu is one image, Windows is one image, Red Hat is one image. So but these images are different. Okay, so these images we call it as Amazon mission image, AMI. Okay, so we have another concept. We are going to discuss about this AMI concepts later on. So I'll just give you a brief overview. So every OS or every particular thing that we are going to launch. So that those things will be in the form of AMI, Amazon Mission Image. Okay. So we'll do one thing. Let me create a Red Hat Linux. So I'll select Red Hat. Okay. And then, so this is how this is what the configuration, and you can see here, this is your AMI ID that you're getting. Okay, as I told you, every server is going to have AMI ID. So AMI in the sense Amazon Mission Image. So this is the AMI ID for Red Hat. Okay, and also remember, for every region this AMI ID is going to be different. Like in region 1 and region 2, if you select Red Hat, so there the AMI value will be different, and here the AMI value will be different. Okay, and then so you can change if you want, like 64-bit ARM or normal Intel processor. So you can select whatever you want, and this is your AMI ID for this. Okay, and if you come down, so you have instance type. So instance type is very one of the important thing. So here you can see, as I told you, there is a type called T2 micro. So as you can see, T2.micro, which is going to have 1 CPU and 1 GB RAM. Like you can select the other one as well. Like for example, if I here T2 T1 micro, which is having 1 CPU and 612 MB RAM. Okay, and T2 nano is having 1 CPU and 512 MB RAM. Okay, the same way if I go with T2 small, so T2 small will have 1 CPU and 2 GB RAM, and T2 medium is going to have 2 CPUs and 4 GB RAM. So based upon your requirement, like if you required somewhat higher configured servers, so like this, you have multiple types. If you scroll down, you have, like for example, here you can see C580 4X large, which is having 16 CPUs and 32 GB RAM. Okay, the prices will also be based on that. So here you can see for Linux, the prices are 0.688 USD per hour. Okay, if you use this server for 1 hour, so this is what the price that you are going to charge. Okay, the same way if you go with the lower step of servers, for example T2 micro, so the prices will be as low as here. Okay, for Linux, 0.0116 USD per hour. Okay, the same way if I go with T2 medium, so the price will be like this, approximately 12 paisa per minute, per hour, 12 rupees per hour. Okay, that would be the approach. Okay, so this is how it is going to be. I'll go with T2 micro itself, because here you can see an option called free tier eligible. As I told you earlier, so every month you're going to get 750 hours absolutely free. So those that only you have to use T2 micro. Okay, so if you use T2 micro, then only you're going to get that access. Okay, fine. And then we required a key pair. So I'm going to scroll down, and you can see my key pair which I have created. So if you don't have key pair created, so you can also click on this, which will automatically generate a new key pair now. Okay, and coming to this network preferences, so this is your VPC. So it got selected with a default one. So if you don't want to go with the default VPC, you can just click on edit, and you can select the VPC which you have created yesterday. So I can select that, and you can also select the subnets that you have created yesterday. So you can go with subnet 1 or subnet 2. That's up to you. Okay, and auto assign of IP will be enabled. So if you click on disable, then public IP will not be allocated to the server. Okay, and now the next concept called security group. So security groups are basically used for enabling inbound and outbound traffic. So inbound and outbound traffic in the sense, see, in in Linux machines, we generally have an option called um, on Linux machine, we generally have an option called port numbers. Okay, so if you observe in real time or whatever, so in an external case also, some applications will be running with a specified port number. So port number concept is very important and it's very common for all the servers. Okay, so some servers port number will be start ranging from 0 to 68,000. So that depends upon the bits that we calculate. Okay, now so inbound in the sense the traffic which comes inside your server, like your server is having, right? So if some other user from external is trying to access your server with a specified port number, okay, so if you open that port number, only then that request will enter into the server. Otherwise, it won't. Okay, so that's the first thing. And coming to outbound role, like if you are trying to access the other server or something else, so via which port you want to send, so that and all will be managed under outbound role. So in security group we basically configure this inbound and outbound management system. Okay, if you want to run some application, so that application port number should be enabled here, only then you can access it. But later on also we can do the changes. I'm not saying you have to do it right away. So later on we can change those security inbound and outbound rules. By default, there will be a port number called, I mean, there will be a protocol called SSH with a port 22. So the default port for SSH is 22. So by default, this port will be enabled. Okay, so that's the first thing, because we are going to connect with the target server using SSH protocol, right? So SSH protocol will be using a port number called 22. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned SSH and you said secure share. What's the relationship between that and this one?
Sorry, the SSH full form is secured shell.
Yeah, you said SSH in the beginning, and then now you are saying SSH. That's on the server. What is the difference between this one and this and that one?
No. I have told you SSH only, right? Earlier also I have told you SSH.
SSH.
Yes.
And now this is also SSH.
Yes, you can see here SSH.
And then this it has a port of 22.
Yes, the default. I mean, some few protocols will have a default port numbers. So for SSH, the default port number is 22.
Okay.
So if you enable that port number, only SSH connectivity will be working. If I don't enable this port number called port 22, then you can't connect to the server, because even though you have a PEM key or a public key or private key, whatever you have in your local machine, but you can't connect with the server until and unless you open this port. Got it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see for by default you're going to have 10 GB of memory. Okay, so that means ROM. If you want to increase this memory also, you can increase up to 30 GB you can utilize. Okay, so if I go with advanced details, so these are all the other I mean, these are all some extra options what we have, but these are not required as of now. Okay, later on we'll discuss about this. And user data is one of the option which is an important option. So user data, like for example, if I want to launch a server, and at the time of spinning up this server, I want to execute some commands or I want to execute some sort of script. Okay, So in that case, that script you can define it here, and your server at the time of launching your server, automatically this script will be executed, and that script will generate your that script will, some kind of installation or whatever. So automatically that particular task will be initiated. Okay, so that's the other one. Okay, and on the left side, on the right side, you can see here how many number of instances that you want. Like, is it one instance or multiple instance? You can select. So I'll be selecting only one instance. Okay, and then I'll just, after giving all the options, you can review it and you can just click on launch instance. Okay, so it is going to create all the instances. Okay, now you can see here you successfully initiated your instance, and if you click on view all instances, which is going to show you your instances here. So here it is. So my Linux, and this is your instance ID. For every instance, there will be one random ID will be generated. So with a combination of alphanumerical value, and it's also show you the information about the instance type and all the other options, like on which availability zone it is launched. Okay, let me select this. Okay, you can see here this IP will be in the range of 10.20.2.156 because we have selected our own customized VPC. So you have to consider only the private IP. Public IP will be randomly given. Okay, it can be any range. Okay, but whereas a private IP, you have to consider that yesterday we have given 10.20.0.0./16, right? So the last two digits will be increased in that case. So like 2 and 156. Okay, fine. Um, it's fine now. I'll show you how to connect this. So in order to connect with this Linux machine, so we have different tools we can use. Okay, so I don't, you can also install some other different tools like Putty. You can install. Putty is one of the software we have. If you want, you can install that, or you can also install few other softwares like Mobile Stream. There are different softwares available. Okay, so you can use any of these tools in order to connect with your Linux machine. But I'm not going to install any software. I'm going to use Git Bash terminal. So Git, as I told you before, Git Bash terminal is also a Linux based terminal where you can execute Linux based commands and all. So I'm going to use that and I'm going to connect with the server. I'll show you how to access this server. So yeah, now it is in running state, right? Earlier it is in pending state. Now it is showing as running state. Now let's try connecting with the server. So what I'll do is, first of all, I'll just open Git Bash. Okay. So let me go to downloads because my key was available under downloads, right? My PEM key. So after downloaded, my PEM key is available under download session. So now we have to use a command called SSH command. Okay, so I'll show you how to connect to the server. SSH-I. So -I stands for inventory. That means the private key that we have on your local machine. So that private key I have to mention here. So under download sessions, I have surya1.pem, right? So I'm going to give that. And in order to connect with the target server, two things we require. So one is the target server username, and the other one is the target server IP address, public IP address, not the private one. So public IP address we required. Okay, so these two things we need to consider. Now I'll just copy this public IP here. If I click on this, it will automatically copy. And coming to the user, like on Linux machines, we have different users. So those concepts we are going to discuss tomorrow. So now what I want to do is, like, by default, if you go with Red Hat, okay, so if you go with Red Hat, CentOS, so these servers by default the username will be EC2-user. So remember this username. EC2-user is the default user for Red Hat Linux, Amazon Linux, CentOS, so this kind of OS part. Okay, so as we have launched a Red Hat based Linux mission, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this EC2-user. Okay, and then after @ you need to paste the IP address. Okay, so the public IP address you have copied, right? So the same public IP address you need to paste here. Okay, and then just click on enter. So it is going to ask you for the confirmation, like you just type yes and click on enter. So now you can see here you have successfully connected with the Linux Red Hat Linux mission. Okay, you can see here you name, so it's a Linux mission. You can also execute your namespace -a, which will show you the entire information. Okay, so this is how we are going to connect with the Linux servers. Or I mean, if you go with Red Hat, if you go with Red Hat, CentOS, Amazon Linux, only then you're going to use EC2-user as a user. But if you go with a different thing now, okay, like Ubuntu, so the for Ubuntu the user is Ubuntu. For Debian the user is Debian. Okay, any questions? So now you have connected with a user called EC2-user and you are inside that user. So this is how we're going to launch a Linux mission, and we are going to connect with the Linux mission in the format which I have mentioned.
What if I want to create a Windows instance? What is the username for that?
For Windows, there will be a username called Win.
WIN?
Yes.
Okay.
But I used it very long back ago. But recently I came to know there was a change in a username. But I'll confirm it. I'll just check it and I'll confirm it. We can also check it on Google directly. So earlier it used to be a Win, but now might be they changed the option. I'll just type default user for EC2 Windows. Okay, for Windows again they have given as, okay, let me search. Here it is for Amazon Linux. The username is EC2-user. For CentOS, we can either go with CentOS or EC2-user. Debian admin, Fedora, EC2-user, Red Hat, SUSE, Ubuntu. Ubuntu, the username is Ubuntu. Oracle AMI, you can go with EC2-user. Okay. So they didn't mention about I mean Windows. Okay. I'll check and I'll let you know tomorrow. Just remind me.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I've used Windows instance very long back, almost 3 years back. I used. So there is a lot of changes. I mean, at the time when I'm using, so that entire system, or I mean, appearance is totally different. Those options are also totally different.
Okay. Okay, no problem.
Yeah. So this is how we are going to connect with the Linux mission. And tomorrow I'm planning to take a 2-hour session because I'm going to skip Friday session because I'm going to I'm going to have some deployments planned. So most probably I'll be involving in that. So if in case that deployment plan got cancelled, then we can have an extra session on Friday. But more 90% I'm not able to connect with you guys. So that's the reason what I will do is tomorrow I'm going to take 2-hour session. Okay, so the next topic that we are going to discuss is Linux. Okay, I'm going to explain about Linux commands, different types of Linux commands we're going to use in on daily basis with respect to DevOps point of view. So these Linux commands we are going to discuss. So if you are familiar with Linux, you can skip tomorrow's session. Okay.
For some reason, hello, sir. For some reason, I still haven't received the videos.
That you can check with the management once.
Check with who?
Management, like you're from Visualpath, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you just check with the point of contact to whom you have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They can give you the right one. So some people are
Thank you.
from my end and some people from Visualpath end. So so if a person from my end, I can answer them. But the person who you came from Visualpath, you can just check with the management. Okay. Fine. Any questions? Anything you want me to explain again?
Hello.
Yeah.
నేను అతనుని థింగ్ ఏంటంటే విపిఎన్ సారీ వర్చువల్ ఇది క్రియేట్ చేశాను అండ్ చేశాను బట్ ఏంటంటే దాంట్లో
That we can.
10.3.0.0/16 ఇచ్చాను.
Okay.
వన్ కమింగ్ టు సబ్నెట్స్ వచ్చేస్తే 10.20.1.0/18 ఇస్తే ఇట్స్ నాట్ అలౌయింగ్ అంటే 2 సబ్నెట్ మార్క్స్ నేను
Arjun,
తీసుకుంటున్నాను.
actually your voice is breaking. We'll do one thing. I'll connect with you separately, Arjun.
I'll call you.
Yeah. Yeah. You can call me separately. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So tomorrow the session will be on Linux. Okay. I'm going to give you a Linux basic overview. I'll start with the basic and then I'll show you what are all the commands that we can use in real time on daily basis. And I'm going to explain all the commands related to that. And also I'm going to share you the documents related to Linux and all. So for practice purpose, you can utilize those. I mean, you'll get more information with respect to Linux on from that documentation. So you can go through that. So most probably tomorrow will be 2-hour sessions. So be prepared with that. Okay. So if you have any sort of questions, let me know so that we'll be discussing on that. Otherwise, we'll close this session for today. Okay, then. Thank you guys. Thanks for joining. Have a nice day. Bye bye.